Veux-tu danser avec moi?
Hi, and welcome to Creative Collab. I'm Noah, the founder of Handmade Creative, and this week we have a guest host. We are super lucky to have Jenny Davis with us. Do you want to give yourself a quick intro, Jenny?
Sure. I am a creative director, a motion designer. I am started Drek Studio. It's a female-forward creative studio, and I am the co-founder of Mothers of MoGraph, which is a vibrant community for moms in the motion and design industry.
And today we're here to talk about how to use social media to promote yourself and or your business. I do think there's not a huge difference in using it to promote yourself versus your business. You know, a lot of times people follow personal accounts. So even if it is for a studio, a lot of times it is the creative directors and the founders' own accounts that are driving a lot of it.
I disagree with you. This is like the main point that I disagree with you. I do think there's a big difference between promoting yourself as a freelancer and promoting yourself as a business, even as a small business owner. Because I think the audience is wildly different. So if you are a freelancer, your audience is going to be studios, it's going to be other freelancers, because you want to have that network of people to have that network and credibility within the motion design industry. And so the projects and the way that you're presenting the projects are going to be different than the way you're going to present them if you are aiming to connect with direct to clients.
I don't think we disagree there. I think you got to understand your audience. For me, it's more the fundamentals. So maybe that actually leads into my second point, and maybe you'll disagree on this, but like I think you do definitely have to speak to your audience. There's no disagreement there.
100%. You have to, like, that's the first rule of like any social media marketing or like organic marketing, is you have to understand who you're talking to, and like and then you're kind of developing your strategy based on those people.
So why I think it's kind of similar, and will lead into my second point, which is that I think thought leadership is overrated in terms of like, I don't think that many people have really, really innovative new ideas, but I also don't think that that's necessarily what people are looking for now in terms of like the ultimate expert and authority on the thing. Like for sure you have to have expertise, but I personally feel like the social media strategy is more about telegraphing what you're like to work with. And that could apply for the company, for the individuals. The company is an extension of the individuals that work for that company. And so I feel like a lot is just about kind of telegraphing maybe your process, your personality, your values, just to give people a sense, to start to build that familiarity. There's often that thing, that sort of trope of people don't buy from companies, they buy from other people. So one way I see it as being similar is in either case, it's a way to give people a window into the people behind the work.
That's where I disagree again. So I agree with you. I don't think everybody needs to be a thought leader, and I don't think like every single post needs to be about thought leadership. Like I don't think there's that many original thoughts these days that we all need to like make a strategy around being a thought leader. And like, you know, most of us were not in this business to be consultants or whatever. So I don't think that it's necessary. But as a business owner or a creative director or somebody in like a leadership role, I do think that it's important to show that you understand the business, and that you can do through thought leadership. Like you don't always have to represent like the specific work that you're working on, the specific people that you're working on. You're talking more about the industry. And I do think that that's important, because that gives you credibility, and larger companies or direct client to clients are going to trust you because you understand the industry. And if you're only speaking to a level of like your work and your world, then I think you break that trust for bigger clients.
Okay. I think it's where you put the emphasis. Like, you know, maybe this what we're doing now could even be considered thought leadership. But what I feel like is the emphasis is the part that I feel like is the most important in terms of like, let's say for both of us and our audience and attracting clients necessarily is just how we think through these ideas that gives you a sense of like our thought process, how we would react or interact in different situations. The end strategy we come up with, I think, is less vital. I mean, obviously it has to be competent, it has to be relevant. I don't think that part is irrelevant. I just feel like sometimes in the way it gets discussed, too much emphasis is pointed there. And where I see it sometimes as a mistake is I do see some people who come out very like, this is how you should do it, and this and this, and point and point. And if you're not giving a window through that into your personality or how you're arriving at that, I don't think that is necessarily going to be a win for most people, unless your strategy and those endpoints are just so original and cut through so much.
I think like my approach to it, my strategy behind it is just to continue to show up and to present myself and just try to be as me as possible. And then have like a continuing conversation, even if it's with myself, and like, you know, commenting on other people and having conversations with other people in the industry also shows that you're connected. Like, you don't have to necessarily have like, oh, this is what I think about this brand. Like, you know, it thought leadership can be just part of being part of a community. And I think all of my strategy kind of revolves around me building trust. I enjoy people for the most part, and I like to, like, that's my biggest clients or my best clients are ones that I can go beyond just like emails. This is your files, this is your brief, and we have conversations and we have like an actual connection. And that's how I use LinkedIn. They get to see like a window into my world of who I am, and I'm always kind of there. And I'll just continuously show up. So if in May they don't need me, but I continually show up, and then September they have a budget, they're like, oh, she's there, and she understands. She's continuously talking about things that make sense, that I understand.
But again, it's just that thing of like a lot of the differentiation of what separates working from like either one studio or one freelancer to another. Like, you might have a lot where at the end of the day, the quality of the work could be quite similar, but a lot of times it's the experience of working with them and all the sort of like what people call like soft skills or client experience stuff that goes around it, or again, how they actually approach solving problems that differs. And so like, to me, I view it as an invaluable tool to give people a window into that process. Maybe you could in a case study, but maybe it would have to be like one big long case study that a lot of people won't bother to read. So like social media is a great way to like kind of drip that out in little pieces. So it kind of builds up over time.
I just think just start. I mean, you know, we talked about this a lot when I started using LinkedIn. I had no idea what I was doing, and I had like 3 followers. And I just started posting things, and like, you know, at first I was talking about how I was building Drac, and then I was talking about what we're all about, and then I was talking about my skills, and then you know, slowly over time I realized that if I wanted to connect with my clients, I needed to talk to my clients and not to my collaborators. So like, and you know, it picks up momentum, whether it's the right kind of content or not. And eventually you start to figure things out, and you get to, but you have to start. Like, if you don't start, you're never going to know. It's trial and error.
I'm into making comics too as like a thing. And I listened to a podcast called Comics Lab for independent comic book creators, and they're like, most of their marketing is through social media, and like they actually have really, really great social media strategy tips that could apply to any industry. So one thing they say is like, when people think about how much should I post, their words of wisdom are FCS: frequent, consistent, significant. So when you say how often should I post, you should post as often as you can while keeping it consistent and significant. So like, not just posting, you know, significant doesn't need to be like a page long essay on Medium that you're linking out, but just that it's like there is some value there. It's not just like random hot take, random opinion, frequent, consistent, significant, but you're working back from like from how consistently can you post something significant, and that's your frequency. And the other one that they talk about is I think they call it the four C's, but content. So that's like your work, what you've done. Community. So that's like engaging with other people. Curation. So that's sharing stuff that other people have done. That is super valuable in this saturated landscape.
And super important to credit. It's not okay to not credit those people.
Yes. Yeah, no, curation really means
yeah,
putting other people in the spotlight. And that's, but that's, to me, that's like a kind of an element, if you want to call it, of thought leadership. Or again, it's just showing people what you might be like to work with. You're showing people your taste. You're just giving them a window into your taste. So you don't have to overthink it, but you for sure want it just to be a genuine, when you do curate, it's real curation. It's a genuine reflection of your taste and what you find interesting. And the last one they always joke is the last C is kindness.
Okay.
Which is actually,
I know that's a spelling mistake.
yeah. But basically, which might sound like a silly thing, but like to bring up, but like social media is not, it doesn't bring out the best in people. And I think like, especially when you're showing up in a professional context, I'm not talking about toxic positivity, but to genuinely be kind. I think that stands out. So it doesn't mean you have to agree with everything. It doesn't mean that, but just it's good to like keep it in that alliteration, even if it's not a C, just to remember to like, before you have that knee-jerk reaction, keep it kind.
I agree with your four C's. I think when I started to kind of double down and figure out what I was doing, once you kind of understand why you're on LinkedIn, kind of understanding your audience's point of view. So I would flip the switch from like what I can do. Yeah. So basically figure out why you're on LinkedIn and then who you're talking to and understand what their problem is and not don't continuously just be like, hey, look at me. Be like, hey, what can I do for you? We're in a service-based business, and that's, I think, something that we forget often. And I would say just start. Stop like overthinking it. It's especially if you don't have any followers, nobody's going to see it. So just start.
Oh, that's actually a great point. Or even if you have a ton of followers, like we think, I mean, social media goes by so fast and so disposable. Like no one's paying that much attention. It's the overall impression, but don't put too much pressure on each post, because it's more the overall cumulative effect over time. So don't forget to like, subscribe. Man, I don't know. I'm still not good at like all the things. Smash that like, give us 5 stars, every platform, whatever, and see you on the next Creative Collab.